Welcome to the Beyond Bloated Podcast. I'm Carly, a certified health coach helping women ditch their bloat without having to follow super strict and stressful protocols. As someone who's struggled with all sorts of digestive issues for over 5 years, I know exactly how you're feeling. I also know that there's a way to feel better, and it doesn't have to involve tons of expensive supplements and insanely restrictive diets. Join me as I share all of my bloat-busting wisdom to help you say goodbye to that bloated belly and regain your confidence. It's time for you to move beyond bloated. It's almost Halloween. I'm so excited. So I did do an episode already a couple weeks ago on how to not be bloated at the Halloween party. So if you missed that and you're going to a Halloween party this weekend, go listen. I'll give you all the tips on what to do before, during, and after the Halloween party to make sure your night doesn't get ruined by bloating and stomach pain and all the nasty symptoms that you don't want when you're at a party. The other aspect of Halloween is, of course, trick-or-treating. So maybe you have kids at home and they're young enough that they're still trick-or-treating, or maybe you don't have kids, but you live in a house and you decide to give out candy. I live in a condo, so I don't have the opportunity to give out candy, but I do go trick-or-treating with my boyfriend's cousin's children. So I get to go out and experience the trick-or-treating fun with not my own children. I don't have any of those. Someone else's kids. And my favorite part is actually the Halloween decorations. We tend to go to an area where the houses go hard for Halloween. So they go do their houses up all spooky scary. The people handing out candy are dressed in costume. I dress in costume. I friggin' love it. That's my favorite part about actual Halloween day. But of course, I am also a health coach, and I am very well aware of the ingredients that go into these treats. And I'm not thrilled about it, especially in recent years. I've gotten a lot more knowledge. I'm more knowledgeable on what these ingredients are doing to the body, to children in particular, who are obviously the target of trick-or-treating candy, right? It's not full-grown adults going door to door. It's the 8-year-old kid who's got a bucket full of food dyes and sugar. So today I'm going to be a bit of a buzzkill, and I'm going to talk about hidden sugar and why it's problematic. Of course, things in moderation are okay, but we're talking Halloween, okay? You're going door to door to door. You're getting a massive bucket of candy. You're going home and eating 12 of those candy bars in one sitting. That's just the way it is. That's not moderation. And so I'm just here to provide the information on what sugar is doing to the body, how it hides in our products, and as always, you can do with this information as you wish. I want to start with some information on sugar, and this information may shock you because it shocked me. So here we go. First of all, sugar is an extremely addictive substance, and it is in almost everything that we eat, and that is on purpose. Companies know what they're doing. They know sugar is addictive. That's why it's in everything, because then you want more. You're addicted. You keep buying their product. They keep making money. They're not dumb. They didn't get rich off of not knowing how their consumers operate. Brain actually reacts to sugar the same way it reacts to certain drugs. A 2013 study by Connecticut College showed that Oreo cookies activated more neurons in a rat's brain's pleasure center than cocaine and morphine did. And this is just the start of why hidden sugar is problematic. The average American adult consumes more than 2 to 3 times the recommended amount of added sugar every single day. Annually, that amounts to 60 pounds of added sugar consumed per adult. And the numbers are not any better for Americans aged 2 to 19. Over 53 pounds of added sugar is being consumed annually by children in America. That is an insanely high amount, but it's also logical considering 66% of packaged foods analyzed in 2015 contained at least one added sugar. At least one. Unless you make all of your food from scratch, which obviously nobody has time for that. Avoiding all sugar is impossible. If you're wondering what is the recommended amount of sugar per day, the American Heart Association recommends that men consume no more than 9 teaspoons, which is 36 grams or 150 calories of added sugar per day, and women should consume no more than 6 teaspoons, which is equivalent to 25 grams or 100 calories per day. And keep in mind, this is added sugars. So I'm not talking about fruit or anything that contains sugar in it already. I'm talking like refined sugar, cane sugar, honey, even maple syrup. Like, yes, natural sugars, but things that have been added. So it's recommended that us women consume no more than 6 teaspoons of added sugar per day. Yet adults and young adults in the US consume an average of about 17 teaspoons of added sugar every single day, which is, as I said, more than 2 times the recommended daily allowance. That is absurd. Now, you may be thinking you don't consume added sugar because you read the ingredient label and you don't see the word sugar listed. That's a reasonable thought to have. However, nutrition labels often try to hide the fact that their product is full of sugar. In fact, sugar can be listed as over 50 different ingredients. I'm not going to sit here and list all 50, but I will list a few common ones to look out for. Anything syrup is a sugar. Brown rice syrup, sorghum syrup, anything syrup. Maple syrup, just straight up syrup, that is a sugar. And there's like so many different ways they can list this, but if it ends in syrup, that's a sugar. Obviously, if it contains the word sugar in it, that's a sugar. So that could be beet sugar, date sugar, coconut sugar, confectioner's sugar. Even though things like beet sugar and date sugar are healthier versions than like white refined sugar, it is still a sugar. And for the purpose of what we're talking about today, that is included in the ingredient label. So if you see that listed, that is a sugar. Another tricky one they like to throw in there is juices. They like to think, oh, juice, maybe this will slip by because it's fruit related. No, that's a sugar. So fruit juice listed in an ingredient label, that's a sugar. Fruit juice concentrate, evaporated cane juice, these are all sugars. And then here are a few trickier ones that aren't as obvious but are also sugars. Dextrin, dextrose, fructose, glucose, maltol, maltose, sucrose, any of those types of things, that's all sugar. Keep in mind that ingredients are listed in order of their quantity. So this means that the first ingredient listed in the ingredient label is the most prominent ingredient, and the last ingredient is the least. Oftentimes, sugars will be listed more than once in an ingredient list under different names. So that's kind of a tricky way for them to space it out. Instead of having sugar as the number 1 ingredient, they'll have it as like number 2, and then they'll have a different type of sugar as like number 3, and then maybe even a different sugar as number 4. They're tricky. You gotta watch out. Now, you may be thinking, who cares? Why should I care about the amount of sugar I consume? We all know that sweets can cause weight gain. However, I am someone who has never struggled with being overweight. I've struggled with a lot of other symptoms and gut issues, but weight was never a struggle, at least weight gain. I was actually underweight, but I was never overweight. So that alone isn't enough reason for me to stop overindulging in sugary treats, right? If the only negative to it is you'll gain weight, it's like, well, I don't gain weight, so I don't care. Let me tell you why you should. Reason number 1, acne. Processed sweets have a high glycemic index, which means they rapidly raise blood sugar levels. This quick spike causes an increase in androgen secretion, oil production, and inflammation, all of which contribute to acne development. If you are someone who has noticed a connection between when you don't eat so well, you develop blemishes on your skin, you're not wrong. There is definitely a connection there. So if acne is something you're struggling with, try reducing your sweets. Reason number 2, increased risk of cancer. High sugar consumption can increase a person's cancer risk in a couple of ways. For one, a high sugar diet can lead to obesity, which significantly increases your cancer risk. So as I mentioned at the start, sweets, sugar causes weight gain. Uncontrollable weight gain leads to obesity. That increases your cancer risk. And 2, sugar is inflammatory. Inflammation in the body can cause insulin resistance, which again increases a person's risk of cancer. Reason number 3, depression. Eating a slice of cake may make you temporarily happy, but the long-term effects may be doing the complete opposite. Blood sugar swings and inflammation caused by eating excess sugars may be severely hindering mental health. A 3-year study showed a high sugar diet increased the risk of depression and other mental disorders in individuals aged 35 to 55. We've probably all experienced this to some degree, where you're not feeling great and all you want to do is just stuff your face with chocolate. And so maybe you do. And it usually doesn't make you feel as good as you think it would. Even while you're eating the chocolate, it's like, yeah, the chocolate's kind of good, but this isn't really fixing all of my other problems. And then the long-term effects, you probably feel a lot worse after doing it for many reasons. One, you probably feel physically bad. And then you might also feel mentally bad because you're like, wow, I just ate 4 chocolate bars. Why did I do that? So I don't recommend using food as a crutch for emotional or any sort of support. Reason number 4, accelerated skin aging. Hey everyone, Carly here. If you are tired of feeling bloated and uncomfortable, which I know you are, I have something that can really help. My free ultimate guide to bloat busting. I've been there myself, and I know how frustrating it is to try super restrictive diets and expensive supplements without getting results. If those methods were going to work, they would have worked by now. That's why I created this guide to offer you a different approach. In the ultimate guide to bloat busting, you'll learn techniques to listen to your body and eat with intention, avoiding overeating and choosing foods that truly benefit you, tips for proper hydration to support digestion and reduce bloating, a guide to delicious foods that promote a healthy gut and how to easily incorporate them into your meals, and effective methods to manage stress, which plays a huge role in gut health. These simple, practical strategies can make a big difference in your daily life, helping you feel lighter, more energized, and comfortable in your own skin. Ready to ditch the bloat without strict diets or costly supplements? Download your free copy today at beyondbloated.com/ultimate-guide and start your journey to a bloat-free life. Now, let's get back to it. Compounds formed by the reaction between sugar and proteins found in the body are called advanced glycation end products, AGEs. These compounds may cause skin to age quicker because they damage collagen and elastin. These 2 proteins are what help the skin stretch and ultimately keep the beautiful, youthful appearance that you have. So basically, eating plenty of sweets may be giving you wrinkles. Reason number 5. Have you ever felt great after eating a box of cookies just to experience the crash a short while later? That's because when we eat sugary products, our blood sugar and insulin levels spike, giving us a temporary increase in energy. And then that spike is followed by a sharp drop, which is what causes the sudden feelings of exhaustion. So that's also why I preach pairing your carbs, or if you are going to eat like refined carbs, eat them with healthy options like lean proteins and healthy fats and fiber and healthy carbs, because that's going to help prevent that massive spike. So I'm not saying don't ever eat sugar and because you're going to have a massive spike and a crash, but if you do it, eat it at the end of a healthy meal and don't obviously eat mounds of it. Now, I'm not sure if you noticed, but I didn't even touch upon gut health yet. So I just talked about how eating too much sugar can cause acne, increase your risk of cancer, increase your risk of depression, accelerate your skin aging, or aka wrinkle you up, and make you super sleepy and fatigued. But I didn't even talk about gut health yet. So obviously we got to do that. You probably know by now that our gut is home to trillions of beneficial bacteria. So this is what we call the microbiome. And all of these beneficial bacteria play a crucial role in digestion, immune function, and just overall health. When we eat too much sugar, especially the refined sugars, this can lead to an imbalance in our gut microbiome by promoting the growth of harmful bacteria and yeast, such as Candida, because Candida feeds on sugar. So if you're just eating mounds of sugar, the yeast is feeding on that, and it can grow out of control and cause a lot of problems in the body. This imbalance is when the bad grows out of control, and now our good beneficial bacteria are being suppressed, and there's not as much of it as we'd like. This imbalance is known as dysbiosis, and that is what causes digestive problems like bloating, gas, irregular bowel movements, and all the things. I did touch upon inflammation a little bit, but I'm going to get more specific on how it corresponds to gut health. So high sugar consumption can trigger inflammation in the gut. Refined sugars especially, they're inflammatory to the body. If you're eating tons of it, that's going to cause chronic inflammation, and that can damage the gut lining. And damage to the gut lining is what causes leaky gut syndrome. This is when toxins, bacteria, and undigested food particles all leak through the gut and escape into the bloodstream, and that causes further inflammation throughout the entire body, and that is what causes food sensitivities and autoimmune disorders. I believe that the majority of gut issues are caused by leaky gut or dysbiosis, usually a combination of the two. And eating too much sugar damages the gut lining, causes leaky gut, and it also promotes a favorable environment for the bad bacteria to thrive. And when the bad bacteria are thriving, they push out the good, they kill them off. Now you have a reduction in your gut diversity because we want our microbiomes to be diverse with the good bacteria. And so, yeah, you have dysbiosis, you have leaky gut. That causes food sensitivities, that causes inflammation in the body. That also is a reason why women struggle to lose weight. That's also the cause of hormonal imbalances. So many different issues stem from the gut, and consuming too much sugar is a surefire way to develop those gut issues. So what can we do? As I said, everything contains sugar. If you're out there buying packaged foods, probably contains sugar, and it's hard. I'm not going to lie, it's hard to avoid, which is why I don't recommend avoiding all sugar. That's silly and stressful and unnecessary. The AHA recommends no more than 6 added teaspoons of sugar a day for women. So stick to that. I'm so over all or nothing approaches. I'm not going to sit here and tell you don't ever eat sugar. That's unsustainable. I eat sugar. I eat sugar every single day. So you don't have to eliminate all sugar forever. But here are some ways that you can start to reduce your sugar intake so that you are within that limit of the 6 teaspoons a day. Step 1, I would try to track what you're eating for a few days so that you understand how much sugar you are eating. We don't know. Unless you're tracking these things, there's no way you can know. If you ask me, how much sugar have you had today, Carly? I have no freaking clue. I didn't track my food today, so I don't know. But I have tracked my food in the past very consistently, so I have a general idea of my daily eating habits. I don't eat very much added sugar in a day. If you have no clue, I would recommend downloading MyFitnessPal. It's completely free. You don't have to track for the rest of your life. Just do it for 2 to 3 days on an average day for you and see how much added sugars you're consuming. You may be shocked. You may be perfect. You may be within the 6 teaspoons. That's awesome. Or you may be at 100 grams of sugar per day and you're like, what the hell am I eating that's causing this? We can't change what we don't know. So I always recommend start by figuring out where you're at. And then once you find your starting point, you can adjust from there. So after you've got your starting point and you know how much added sugar on average you are eating each day, go through your packaged food. So read the labels and check how much added sugar is in this. And is there a better choice I could be making? I know a lot of protein bars, granola bars, things like that. They're advertised as healthy and they have 20 grams of sugar or more in one bar. Okay, our recommended amount is like what, 25 grams? You eat one of those, you're basically hit it. So go through your ingredients and check how much sugar is in each thing. If there is something that is like off the charts ridiculous, find a replacement that has less sugar or make it from scratch at home. There are some pretty simple recipes for like granola and protein bars and things like that. Give it a go. Also want to point out that when we are making these swaps, we don't want to do sugar-free things that are using artificial sweeteners. So if instead of using refined white sugar, they're using aspartame, that's just as shitty. You don't want that either. You want something that ideally uses a natural sugar. So if you can eliminate refined sugars from your diet, that's beneficial all the way around. It's not nutritious, it's inflammatory, it's not great for us, and there are better options that taste the same. If I baked something with white sugar and I baked the same thing with coconut sugar, you wouldn't know the difference. So eliminate refined white sugars, all refined sugars if possible, and don't swap your products for artificially sweetened products. Instead, swap them for naturally sweetened products with lower amounts of sugar. And the recommendation of 6 teaspoons of sugar means all sugar. So if you're like, oh yeah, I had 10 grams of sugar today, but it was all natural. Sugar is still sugar. So if you've gone through your packaged food and you've made some swaps and maybe you want to try making some stuff at home, I love it. That's a great option. What I like to do is find a recipe online. And sadly, a lot of recipes online still use so much sugar. For example, I just made a pumpkin loaf because it's October and I'm making everything with pumpkin, obviously. So I made a pumpkin loaf and the recipe said 1 cup of sugar. And I'm looking at my loaf pan and I'm like, absolutely not. I already added chocolate chips and I don't need a cup of sugar in my frickin' pumpkin loaf. So I did half. I did half a cup of sugar. I put my chocolate chips in there and my boyfriend had a slice and he said, this is frickin' so good. I love this pumpkin bread. I'm like, thank you. I used half the amount of sugar recommended. You don't need the full amount 99% of the time. My final tip is to be mindful of sauces and beverages, especially if you are a Starbucks girly. Okay, I urge you, go onto the Starbucks website, search up your drink, look at the amount of sugar in there. You will be dead. Especially if you're drinking the pumpkin spice lattes and the fancy, I don't go to Starbucks. I don't know the names, but I've seen the videos and I've gone on their website and looked at the amounts of sugar in some of the things for my clients and I am dead. I cannot believe that you can have that much sugar in a single beverage. Like, oh my God. So be mindful of your beverages and sauces. If you go to a restaurant, for example, and you order the sweet Thai blah, 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 I guarantee you that sauce has got like 30 grams of sugar in it. Try not to buy the sweet sauces when you're not in control. You can make that sauce at home and you can be in control of the amount of sugar you put in it. But if you're going out and you have no idea, it's going to be a lot. I promise you that. Now, of course, if you rarely go out to eat or when you go out to eat, you usually get the healthy option. But this one time you're really craving the sweet Thai blah, 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 go ahead. YOLO. It's not going to kill you if you do it once in a blue moon. But if you go out to eat every Friday and you get the same thing and it's the super sweet 50 gram of sugar dish, you might want to switch that up. So those are my tips. Basically, be aware of how much sugar you're consuming. Start by tracking it, figuring out where you start. Go through your food, the products that you buy on a regular basis, read the labels, see how much sugar is in them, and decide, can I make this at home? Or is there an alternative option that I can buy that is better? Don't swap for artificial sweeteners and swap your refined sugars for natural sugars. But of course, natural sugars still count as sugar. So it's not like a 0 when you eat something with honey. It still counts as eating that sugar for the day. When you're baking at home, see if you can reduce the amount of sugar than the recipe calls for. I bet you won't notice the difference. And when you're going out and ordering your lattes and your saucy dishes, be mindful of how much sugar is in that. If you can look it up, that would be great. I mean, if you look it up and you see there's 40 grams of sugar in this and you still are like, yeah, I want it, it's worth it, then you do you. But if you have no idea and you're eating that, and knowing that information would probably change your mind, awareness is great. I love awareness, so look these things up, be curious, find out how much sugar is in the shit that you eat on a day-to-day basis. It's important. Now, that being said, I hope I haven't completely destroyed your Halloween plans. If your kids are going out and grabbing candy, have one, you know? The little tiny Aero bars, those used to be my favorite. I can't eat those anymore, but if you can and that's your favorite, have one. It's not going to kill you, but please be mindful of your choices going forward and just listen to your body. If you eat something and you're like, I feel really bad, stop eating it. Okay? It's just food. There are other options out there, other really tasty options. So you can always make the switch. You can always improve how you feel while still enjoying the foods that you love. If you need help finding alternative products or recipes for things that you've pulled out of your cupboard and you're like, holy shit, this is way too much sugar, I need to improve this, reach out to me. You can send me a message on Instagram at beyond.bloated or send me an email, carlyclose@beyondbloated.com. I love product swaps. I love helping you feel better and reduce your sugar intake. So hit me up. Please don't be afraid. I'm not spooky yet. I don't have my costume on. I will be sharing my costume after my boat party on Saturday, so stay tuned for that. And I hope you have a lovely Halloween. Talk to you next week. Thank you for listening to the Beyond Bloated podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please take a moment to subscribe and leave a review. And don't forget to share this podcast with your fellow gut goddesses. If you'd like to chat about today's episode, send me a DM on Instagram at beyond.bloated. Until next time, bye!